What the hell is going on in Denver? What's up, guys? Welcome to Denver Broncos Syndicate, part of the Sports Syndicate family of channels where we are dedicated to bringing you content about our favorite sports teams. I am your host, Gage Madrid. So the Broncos head coaching search just continues to take more and more twists and turns, and reports of conflicting information, quite frankly, keep coming out left and right. It's really hard to know exactly what to believe and what not to believe when there's so much information out there in regards to the Broncos head coaching search. So in this video, I kind of wanted to go through some of the latest reports from these last few days from some reputable sources, and then we can kind of dissect this information together and break down what it all means, because right now it's been really confusing. One day Sean Payton's been the lead candidate, the next day it's been DAmico Ryan's, now both of those guys are apparently out, so it's really hard to completely dissect what's real and what's not real. But NFLTradeRumors.co, a website that breaks down a lot of information like this, did a really good job actually going through and dissecting this in an article. So what I'm going to actually go ahead and do is just read some of the article here from NFL Trade Rumors, written by Logan Ulrich here, and we're going to go ahead and break all this information down. So the article states, multiple reporters, including Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, and Troy Rank, have said it's possible that the Broncos could expand their head coaching search this coming week. It's looking increasingly likely that that is Denver's only choice, as for one reason or another, deals with their reported top candidates have failed to come together. Rappaport and Pelissero confirm Broncos CEO Greg Penner flew out personally to Michigan this week to meet again with head coach Jim Harbaugh, even after he'd announced he was returning to Michigan. He left without a deal, though a source close to Penner claimed that none was offered. It's pretty clear that the Broncos really wanted Jim Harbaugh to be their next head coach. He's got ties with several people in the Broncos organization from his time at Stanford. Three of the members of the Broncos ownership group, Greg Penner, Kerry Walton Penner, and former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, all have ties to Stanford and in turn have some indirect ties to Jim Harbaugh. It's pretty clear that Greg Penner desperately wanted to get Jim Harbaugh out of Michigan and went up there personally to talk to him, but it's pretty clear that Jim Harbaugh at this point in time is committed to Michigan. As a chief executive for Walmart and someone who has got a lot of money, in the corporate executive world, money usually talks. So being rejected like that, even though Greg Penner probably went up and backed the Brinks truck to Jim Harbaugh, that was probably something he was not expecting when he went up there to Michigan. Continuing on this article, Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn and former Saints head coach Sean Payton were the other reported top candidates for the Broncos. But Quinn announced he's returning to Dallas, and after a lot of sometimes conflicting reports about Payton last week, as things stand right now, he is not scheduled to interview for a second time with Denver or any other team. The other top teams that appeared to be vying for Sean Payton's services have seemed to be going in different directions. The Arizona Cardinals do somewhat seem still in play, but the Carolina Panthers went out and hired Frank Reich, so it either seems like the New Orleans Saints were not going to do business with Carolina, or Carolina just felt that they had a better opportunity with Frank Reich. As for DAmico Ryan's, who I made a video about earlier in the week, this is what the article has to state about him. 49ers DAmico Ryan's also came up as a top target for the Broncos, but, and this is new information to me, Rappaport and Pelissero say that Ryans has communicated to Denver he is focusing on other opportunities. So I don't know what is going on there. I don't know if Ryans is not impressed with the Broncos ownership group. I don't know if he wants to be tied with Russell Wilson, or I don't know if he's simply making the decision to potentially take the Houston job because his wife is from Houston. I believe he's got family in the Houston area. So that move would make more sense for DAmico's family. There is mutual interest between DAmico and the Texans per this article, and per multiple other reports throughout the past week. So DAmico Ryan, who had emerged previously as a top name for the Broncos earlier this week, now seems to be headed in a different direction, and at least for now seems to be lined up to be the next head coach of the Houston Texans. Now, according to Rappaport and Pelissero, Denver told Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, their current defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero, former Stanford head coach David Shaw, who was another Stanford coach that the Broncos had interviewed, and former Lions head coach Jim Caldwell, all of whom had interviewed with the team, that they were going in a different direction. Considering that this was the remainder of their candidate list, unless they revisit another one of these coaches the same way they did Harbaugh, it looks like Denver has little choice but to expand their coaching search. So now that raises the question, who are the new names to look for in the Broncos head coaching search? This has just taken all kinds of twists and turns, man. One candidate is the top candidate one day, the next day it's a completely different candidate. But according to Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, and Broncos insider Benjamin Albright, some names to watch are Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka, and Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan. Now, of course, with Gannon and Callahan, both of them are playing in today's championship games, so if we are going to hire them, if they advance to the Super Bowl, we wouldn't be able to do so until after the Super Bowl is over. Gannon and Callahan both interviewed with Denver last year before they went with Nathaniel Hackett, so there is some familiarity there, but obviously this year it's the new ownership group, so it's going to be a bit of a different interview process having to interview with the Walton Penner ownership group. Now, Mike Kafka is someone that the Broncos could go out and hire immediately if they wanted to, but he's someone with a relative lack of experience. He spent time previously as the Kansas City Chiefs quarterbacks coach before moving on to New York last season to be the offensive coordinator under Brian Daboll. Now, Kafka did call plays in New York, but last year was his first season doing it. So I don't know exactly how comfortable the Broncos would be with his relative level of inexperience. At least with Jonathan Gannon and Brian Callahan, they've both been coordinators for a little bit longer period of time. Brian Callahan actually has some ties to Denver from the Peyton Manning days, so that's someone who you could possibly look at right there. But I feel like the Broncos' new top candidate as of right now is Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon. He's a young, bright mind. He's someone that could bring in an offensive staff. He could poach some of those coaches from the Philly staff. I don't know, man. Jonathan Gannon, I know it probably wouldn't be the most popular move amongst Broncos country simply because of, again, the relative lack of experience. But at this point in time, experience or not, I just want someone who's qualified for the job. And based on everything that I have heard about Jonathan Gannon and seen from him in his body of work, he seems like he's someone who is qualified for the job. All right, Broncos country, I know that this is just a lot to unpack. All kinds of different reports have come out, but I hope this video at least helps you get a bit more of a grasp on what's going on in the Broncos head coaching search. I know it's a lot to take in. It seems like Broncos ownership really is a little bit over their head on this one. It's pretty clear that they don't have a whole lot of experience in doing this, and they're not used to money not being able to get them exactly what they want. At this point, I'm just ready for all of this to settle down. It seems that the Broncos are not going to make a decision anytime soon in terms of who their next head coach is going to be. But as long as we keep getting all of these conflicting news and rumors, Broncos country, be sure to keep it right here on Denver Broncos Syndicate, where we can help break all of that down and help you at least get some more sense of what's going on. All right, guys, be sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. I really appreciate it. And be sure to sub to the channel if you have yet to do so. We're getting so close to 1,200 subscribers. I believe that we can get there by the end of the day, so it'd be awesome if you could help us out. And for now, guys, this has been another episode of Denver Broncos Syndicate. I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.